Welcome to Tea Time with Shayleigh and Amber. I'm Shayleigh Evans, and I'm a life coach for pets and their people. I'm a truth seeker, and it's my passion to empower others and to give animals a voice along the way.
I'm Amber Lydic, and I've been a performance horse trainer focused on behavioral issues for over 20 years. My current passion is creating impactful in-person and online events and collaborating with professionals to be on the leading edge of positive change in the horse industry.
We are two friends invested in theta healing, belief system work, animal communication, and any resources that benefit human-animal partnerships. So turn up the volume and let's dive into the Great Awakening, brought to you by our horses. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. If you are listening to this real time, we are in 2025, people. 2025. Feels new, feels different,
Feels fresh.
Feels fresh. We were just talking about what we were going to talk about, and we both decided that we're not New Year's resolution people, but we want to know what all of the fuss is about. So we might dive into that a little bit, but we have a couple of fun things coming up this year that we want to just pop in the beginning of this episode. One, our new tea talks, which are super cool. It is human perspective, horse perspective, and we're doing the mind, body, spirit. So right now we're kind of in the mind piece. Well, I don't know if we're in the mind piece, but we're in like the husbandry piece-ish. Our first talk was about trailering. Our second talk, by popular vote in our tea house membership, is blanketing. Perfect time of year for that. And then we're gonna go into like more spiritual stuff, like end of life care, what's actually happening when we're connecting with our animals. That is like a big one that they want to know about, which is kind of a fascinating topic. Like, are we talking to their mind, their body, their soul? What's going on in there? So that should be super fun. They're exclusive to the membership. We have our VIP.
Except for our first one. We're going to release that
yeah.
one publicly in the next week. In the next couple of days, it'll be all set up. So yeah, probably in the next week, depending on when you're listening to this. But yeah, we opened up our trailer loading one for the pubs so that you guys can get a little tasty taste of what we're doing with our membership and stuff. And I like it because we talk about all that stuff, and also there's like practical tips. Like it's not just like we're gonna make the trailer this magical place and your horse is going to hop in because it feels so free and fun. It's like, oh, and actually there's some nervous system stuff you can do and some visualization stuff and some actual physical groundwork you can do with your horses to set them up to be comfortable trailer loading, and for yourself, your own groundwork.
And what else do we have? February is our very intentional person program. That's exclusive to the tea house. It's like a little program where we do one-on-ones with both me and Amber, and we do tandem sessions and a group call, and it's like a fun little journey thing. Manifesting magic. Do you want to talk about that?
That's kind of important because that's what's happening right now. Yes, our January program is Manifesting Magic, which we did last year, and it was wildly successful. And I will say that I think we just were inspired to do it last year, and we did it and didn't recognize or realize like how impactful it was going to be for people. Because I feel like manifestation is intertwined into like both of our work. And it was really fun to focus just on that, and also to help people focus on not just like the horse aspect, but all of the things around the horse aspect, because it all affects your horse and you, like your job to pay for your horse, and your marriage or partnership that allows you to go see your horse and not make you feel guilty. Like they're all the things you need to put in place to make sure that you and your horse have optimal experience in this lifetime together. But the Facebook group was still freaking cooking, like, and we just said I just went in and posted it. We're going to archive it because we have our new one already started up. I don't want to get confusing, but people were still going in there sharing their wins and stuff. So it's going to be really exciting to do it this year. There's, I don't know how many modules there are. I can't remember right now, but all the information will go into the link in the show notes for this podcast. But we take you through the different steps. And then there is a live workshop at the end of it, and also our Facebook group where people are already very active. Our membership got it first and free. Actually, another perk of being in our membership is that you get a lot of our programs either heavily discounted or for free, especially if they're new programs. We're trying to experiment. Our tea house members, they get that.
Our little
And everyone,
guineas.
yeah, little guinea pigs.
Well, yeah, Manifesting Magic. I mean, that has been one of my favorite programs. And I'm just thinking about this whole New Year's resolution-y thing. Whilst everyone was romping around last night, I was thinking about Manifesting Magic, and I was in there like posting away about this thing that happened to me. So, as you guys know through listening to the podcast, I've been like breaking the habit of being myself through Dr. Joe Dispenza. And one of my things is like getting out of like a fear-based mindset. And it's wild how we don't realize like if you have practiced a fear-based mindset at all, you kind of poison yourself with fear in like many different ways that you like don't even realize. It's so crazy. So I was like posting in the group about that, how I was going through old photos and I found like a couple conversations that at the time were um like made me super upset, and I like documented them. Like I was like, "Oh, I'm saving this for a later date in case I ever need it for, who knows what, obviously, fear-based decision." And then I found myself like scrolling past them when I was deleting old shit. And that but because I've been doing so much work being aware, I was a hold up. Like, why am I saving these? Why would this ever serve me?
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to hear that whole story, it's in there for when you sign up. But I was telling Amber, so in the last like several months since I've been really like dedicated to meditation and things like that, I've been trying to find inner peace because despite what you may think, inner peace can be difficult for someone who's like busy. And I'm also can be like a high energy, a little bit anxious person, or I used to be the old me. Um, Not taking her with me. And so I'm expanding my capacity for peace and well-being. And while I feel like all the growth that I experienced in 2024 was totally necessary and valuable, I realized that I was asking for so much of it. And my clients do that too. It's like we're never enough as we are. We're trying to strive, and I find myself like always constantly learning and looking for new things to talk about because what I have to offer is like not enough. So now I'm working on being at peace with what I know, what I have to offer my clients, what I have to offer my animals, and letting that be enough because I mean, we get the lessons because we ask for them, and we ask for things because we don't believe what we have is enough, right? Like that's like such a big basis of it. So diving into gratitude this year.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think when people think of, well, I didn't ask for this. How could
Mhm.
that be? I didn't want all this bullshit that happened last year. And it's like what I think we dive a lot into in manifesting magic is the fact that you ask through your belief systems, so it doesn't even necessarily mean it's conscious until you bring it to the surface and recognize, oh, hold on, I don't feel like I'm enough as I am. That's why I'm calling in all this fuckery. Um, and while you can appreciate it while it's happening, and I do think it's valuable, I do think there's a lot of room for the understanding of maybe I don't need the lessons to do what I do. Is that a
Mhm.
thing? Can we choose that? We can choose whatever we want, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just want what I have. I'm good.
To be enough.
I'm good. I'm all good on the lessons. 2024 was a year of a lot of growth. And I think it was kind of across the board for a lot of people. And I think you can say that about every year, but I will tell you, 2023 was a piece of cake compared to 2024 in different ways. I think relationship wise, I think 2023 was harder. Business wise, 2024 was harder.
Hmm.
And I feel like I'm looking at 2025. Instead of maybe resolutions, maybe we don't do resolutions because we do this. And if we're manifesting, I mean, what is a resolution? It's like,
It's like changing something about yourself, right?
I just had the weirdest sound happening through my headphones. That
Oh, I did
was
not hear it.
so strange. Yeah, it's resolve. Like, I don't know, we should look it up. Um, feels like one of those things that needs to be looked up. But it feels like when people say that, it's like there's something about me that I don't like and I don't want to do anymore. I didn't like this, so I don't want to do it anymore. So you could say manifesting is just another version of a resolution. It's just calling in, except we're not spinning it. Like I think that's what I don't like about resolutions is it feels like it is based off of I don't like this thing and I want to change it where I'm like, what are all the things that I really love and I want more of them and I want them to be more expansive and how do I create that? And I think through manifestation, that's what we're doing. So it's basically like the same result, right? Like people are doing resolutions so that they can be happier, they can be more fit, they can whatever, whatever. But you can do that through manifestation too in a more like high vibrational way. It feels like a more of an aligned way.
Mm-hmm. Well, Oxford says it's a firm decision to do or not to do something.
Mm,
So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what manifestation is and altering your
right.
belief system.
Yeah.
So,
So we have been doing resolutions. A random cat I've never seen in my whole life just ran past the
oh my
window.
gosh, that's so weird because I just got an image of a cat and I was like, that's weird. I can't pay attention to that right now.
It was me in my eyes. I was like, what? I was like, what is that cat? I've never, it's
So,
not like there's neighbors out here. Was it real?
I wonder that all the time if like something I'm seeing is actually real or not to other people. Like if I'm walking my dog and she doesn't like look at someone that I'm sitting next to or that's like sitting on a bench as I'm like walking by, I'm like, are they not real? Like why didn't she look at them? Why didn't she notice them? It's so funny. Like the fact that we could be walking around and like
Hmm.
people could be among us and not actually be real is like so fascinating to me. But that little cat just reminded me that speaking of resolutions, fine tuning your energy, all of that stuff, two things are coming to mind. One, in our membership, we're reading Joe Dispenza's book. What's this one? Becoming Supernatural.
Supernatural.
Yeah. And I just got to this piece where he talks about commercials and their programming, and a lot of this can be inferred by most of us, but he literally talks about how when you get sucked into the TV, your analytical mind kind of turns off and you are so susceptible of what
Mm-hmm.
is happening because you're in a little bit of a trance and your subconscious mind is just accepting everything as truth. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's fascinating to me because I have been very intentional about watching my dreams and documenting them. And there's always some sort of correlation with like who I talk to, what, like what happened during the day. There's always something that the subconscious mind is like kicking out in dream time. But how connected we are to others, like how many times do you talk to someone and you say something and they'll be like, I was thinking the exact same thing, or I was about to text you about this, or you text each other at the same time, or whatever. Like, we are truly connected to those
Well,
around
it
us.
it literally happened to me and you
That's what
with
I was
Arlo.
thinking of.
Yeah, with Arlo. We can tell that story.
Yeah. So Arlo had a little issue. We'll keep it short. Arlo had a little issue. We'll
Yeah,
keep
we
it
don't want to.
short. And I'm
We
not
don't
taking
want to.
advice.
No advice, please.
Had a little backstory on that. I posted in a Facebook group for advice, and then I had immediate regrets because people started giving me advice and I didn't believe any of them. And then I got resentful because I didn't feel like any of them had any credibility, or like I was like, all right, where's your references? Like, I was like, why am I even asking other people? I just need to listen to my intuition. So ridiculous. Anyway, um, Isla was having an issue. She's fine. But it triggered this like fear response in me, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I couldn't kick it, and it was so annoying. And I took her for a little walk, and I was like, recalibrating my nervous system. And then I thought about Amber when Rocco got tetanus, and he was like, really, I mean, there was a lot going on with that guy, like, and I remember her being like, I just had to be okay with him transitioning, like that's how I had to release the resistance. And so that's what I did with Arlo. And not that she was anywhere near that, it's just like my nervous system wanted to, I mean, she was fine, she literally was fine, she like dry heaved once and she was fine. But my nervous system was like, like she's dying. You got to be okay with her dying, which is so ridiculous. Like, why is it always life and death with our animals? It's that damn responsibility thing. But it pinged Amber apparently because then Amber
Well,
told me.
Well, yeah. Well, we realized because we set up the time that all of this was happening. It was at the exact same time where Arlo had a little coffee sitch, and like earlier this year, Rocco was trying to throw up and couldn't, and I had to take him to the vet and didn't know anything about bloat, and I had no idea how serious it was or how severe it could be, um, and it was so interesting because at that exact same time that Shayleigh is doing her thing, I hear Rocco cough one time, and I had just given him this new toy. It was like a banana, and he ripped the peels off. And he was in the kitchen next to me, and I heard him gag like twice. And I was like, and my brain immediately was like, I was back in the doctor's office. I was looking at the x-ray, like, and I was like in full panic. And I was like, how, like, and my brain went, he swallowed the peel. Okay, he's not a puppy. He's like freaking 9. And no, he did not swallow the toy. He's not dumb. He's like a very intelligent dog. Like, but he just gagged twice. He probably got, his mouth was probably dry from chewing on the toy. He gagged twice. My brain went straight to that x-ray, straight to like, oh God, are we gonna have to go to surgery? Oh my God, he's gonna die. And then we recognized that we were just having the same experience. I don't know who started it. We don't know who started it. It could have been one or the other, but we had the same exact experience in a different flavor at the same time. So that's why
I
it's
probably
really
started it because I'm fucking trying to get rid of fear. So like all of the old fear, that's literally what's happening to me. It's like because you know how when you start to change that habit, your body wants the chemicals that they're used to. So like
Mhm.
my body is literally like, more fear, your dog is gonna die.
Bring me more fear.
And
Oh
it
my
literally
goodness.
it's like an active choice where you're gonna get drugged down the fear road and just go what's easiest, or you're gonna fucking persevere. And I was like determined not to go down that path. And then it's crazy because I woke up the next day and bam, there fear was again. And it was like, how about now? And I had to be like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. But it becomes so normal that you don't recognize it. But we said all that to say if you are trying to make some sort of resolution to be different, do something different, up level in some way, your environment has to be able to grow with you because we are literally connected to the people that we spend the most time with, talk the most to, and something Natalia said the other day is she was like, "Yeah, when I ask for advice, and this is what makes me want to kick myself for posting in that group too. And before I posted it, I went to my camera and the whole thing got deleted. And I was like, oh, guess I'm not going to post it. And then I opened up Facebook again and posted it. It's like ridiculous. But
Uni was like, I'm trying. I'm trying.
ah but and it was something dumb too. I was literally like, what food bowls do you guys use? And then people started giving me advice on food bowls and I was like, no, no, I don't want your advice. So
Isn't
ridiculous.
that isn't that interesting though? Because it's the same thing that we do in general, right? It's like we're basically asking through our subconscious for the things that we're getting, or we wouldn't be getting them. And we're like, no, we don't want that. Well, it's like, well, the universe is like, well, you then quit. Like,
I
then quit
know.
already. And we're like, I can't. I'm addicted. I'm addicted to fear of loss.
I know it's so true. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just delete the post. And I was like, no, I'll get kicked out of the group. And I'm like, I didn't even know I was part of this group. Like, why am I worried about that?
Rejection. I'm gonna get rejected by a bunch of people I didn't know I needed acceptance from and actually don't want, in fact.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Ugh. I forgot what my initial thought was. It was pay attention to who's around you and what you're talking about and what you're thinking and reaffirming into your
Oh,
experience.
you were talking about something that Natalia said, which I can imagine. I think I know what if she's going to ask for advice, it's don't ask for advice from people that
Oh,
aren't doing. I mean, I don't know if this is what she said, but when I hear that, I think don't ask advice from people that aren't doing the things. Like if you're asking advice about like business, then they need to be successful. Like if asking
mm-hmm,
advice about your relationship, then I hope that whoever you're asking it from has a successful relationship at some
mm-hmm,
level. Like they need to be doing actively the steps ahead of you to be able to like support you. Because I will say, usually in that case, those are the people that want to bring you up. The people that are like struggling and like maybe even on the same level as you, are going to be in that same mindset, and you guys are going to either pull each other down to the same vibration or just stay stuck together.
Yeah, that's so true. That was what it was. She's like, if I need advice with my horse, I'm gonna look to the person that I originally think thought of and was like, is this person where I want to be with my horse? Nope.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm not gonna ask them.
Never mind.
Never mind, never mind.
I think though, like
Um,
the beautiful thing about starting to do this work is just like you're talking about when that fear does come up and you feel your nervous system get all out of whack, it's like you're aware of it. And that's like a superpower. Like I think that's the biggest thing from doing all
mhm.
this. And in manifesting magic, we've got some subliminals and we have some meditations and we have some other activities that will kind of tap you into heightening, I think, and fine tuning your awareness because that's like the biggest thing. I don't, I mean, maybe this is a belief I have, but are we ever really going to get rid of all of the different things that are going to happen that make it's like our nervous systems are built to do that. Like we're supposed to have those fluctuations. Like it's
We just
natural.
don't
It's
want to
just,
stay there.
yeah, you just don't want to get all stuck up in it. So,
And that's what happens. Yeah. And it's interesting too how most of our energy gets stuck in like the lower energy centers, like our digestive system, our um reproductive organs. We get anxiety like in our stomach, and it's kind of crazy how they like all of our survival. It literally is
yeah,
all of
that's what
our
it is.
survival energy
Yeah,
centers. The
because that's
energy
all of
gets
our
stuck.
like our organs and stuff that we need to like protect and like, and it's interesting they're the ones that take it all the load of our blocked
Yeah.
up ass energy.
And then they're the ones that go down. They
And you
go
know what
down when
though?
there's an issue.
But you know what's interesting is like if it was in something less important, like if your hand, got real sore, if you had fear, you would probably be less inclined to do something about it. But because these are our vital organs, your body is like, I'm going to inspire you. If you don't do it yourself, here, I'm going to create such dysfunction that you can't live with because then the change has to happen. So maybe
Wait,
that's
but we use our hands every day. Like you wouldn't be able to milk out stalls. I'm all, hold on, wait, the hand's important.
I just meant like, I mean, they're important, but like you can live without a hand. You can't live without a heart or your lungs or, your organs, like your digestive system. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
maybe I
and
should
I
have said
mean when
finger.
you when you get frozen, your body like pulls from your extremities and protects your little core.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's so interesting too because I think we don't appreciate our bodies enough as like a whole in society, and we don't realize how hard they work for us until something goes wrong, and then we're
Mm.
like, you know, unhappy and uncomfortable. And I know every time I get sick, I'm like, body, I'm never gonna take you for granted again. I'm never gonna like eat the wrong food or do the wrong thing. And then next thing you know, it's Christmas and I'm hogging down on 17 chocolate chip cookies.
It happens. It happens. I mean, but then that's the part, like, I even think about the different emotions we experience, and I think about how we've been programmed to believe something is bad and try to fix it. Like if you're sad and you're crying, your caretaker or whoever is around you is like, oh no, what's wrong? Implying that crying is wrong, like something is wrong. When I know for me, it's it's the way I release like anything stored up. I think some people, everyone's different, right? Like, some people want to move their body and some people like crying is like my way of doing that. And if I'm taking on stuff from other people, I feel like that's how it clears through. So it's interesting that we've been made to believe crying is wrong
But
or
you don't have
y'all.
shame around crying?
I don't have shame around crying. I think I don't cry a lot in front of people because if I'm in front of people, usually I'm facilitating and still I have to hold back. But if I'm facilitating, I feel like it's not the time or place for me to be like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Um, but it's interesting because then it creates this resistance. Even yawning is rude, burping is rude, sneezing is rude. If you
that's so
don't, it's like
true.
these are all ways your body is like clearing energetically and physically. Why are we made to believe, oh, that's like something that, you should or shouldn't do, and it's wrong?
Well, it's
And
unladylike, right? Because no one would get mad
yeah.
at a man for yawning. Well, I guess a woman could be like, "Are you even listening to me?"
So yes, I'm trying to release all the tension in your jaw through my body, like our poor
Yeah, that's
horses.
so true.
But then, yeah, and so I'm like, well, do we really not want to experience sadness? Do we really not want to experience anger? Do we, you know what I mean? Like, if you really separate our judgments around and our beliefs around the emotions, the actual sensations in our body are like kind of crazy and not necessarily, they're not horrible to experience. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? If there was no story behind sadness, would sadness be something that you were desperately trying to avoid? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, because it can kind of feel good.
That's why people listen to sad songs. You know what I mean? They want to connect to the different parts of themselves and all the different emotions that we are get to experience as humans. So, if we release the stories and judgments around these emotions, maybe we would just do it freely and then our body would have cleared the things that needed to clear, and then we just move on
Yeah,
to
like
the
children.
next thing. hmm
But
Yeah.
then we go to school and we're not
Yeah.
allowed to like laugh and play. And
Uh,
I think that's where it starts because kids have to sit down and be quiet and they're not allowed to like laugh and play and cry and all the things. But
yeah.
before that, they are. You go outside and you run around and you express freely.
I guess
I think
depending on your
that's,
parents.
oh, true. That's how I
They
was.
feral.
Yeah, feral catching toads in the field by my
Me
house.
too. I was catching tree frogs in the creek.
What's your like kind of resolution, manifestation, general mantra of the year?
I think this year, definitely I want to focus on and actually have been for the last like 2 months of taking better care of my body. And it's probably my age. I think that kind of naturally happens as you get older, but just in a different way though. And it's so interesting. Heather Corderman, uh she posted something like a couple days ago, and if you guys don't
Yeah, it
know
was a really
Heather,
good post.
I know, and I just talked to her a couple days before that, and she's always the one that I'm like, oh, here's this great idea for this program you could do. She's like, but the videos, I don't want to see myself on video. And I was like, if you guys know Heather, she's like this most amazing beautiful creature, and she's a badass, and she's as sweet as shit, and she's honest and talented, and she's like literally this amazing human, but she doesn't see it in herself. And she just posted something the other day talking about exercise and taking care of her body, but from a place of, because I love myself and care so much about the vessel that I'm in, I want to take care of it versus, oh my gosh, I'm fat. And oh my gosh, I'm so out of shape. And the energy behind working out with those two different mindsets, I think creates the kind of body you end up with too. Because I feel like people that are really shaming themselves and like hating their body and working out, I feel like they don't actually get the results that they want as because you're already in that stress response. You're doing it through like energetically, not a place that is conducive for your body to actually work fully. And I talked about this one time when I was doing Pilates a lot, where I didn't realize how much I was disassociating from my body when I was in Pilates. I because her Pilates studio is on this cute little farm, so you can look out the window and she's having you do horrendous, painful, very difficult things. And I would look out the window and be like, turkey, like, oh, like, but my body was still doing the thing. And I realized I was teaching a lesson and I realized I said something, I heard myself and I was like, that's interesting. Thinking more along the lines of when you're working with your horses and they're shut down or disassociated and you're asking them to do these physical maneuvers and how it's just not the same when you get them relaxed first and their nervous system is on board and then you ask them to do the things. And then I was like, wait a minute, like maybe, just maybe, I am not doing that in Pilates. And so the next day I went, I stayed in my body like the whole time. And I will tell you, I was monumentally more sore the next day. And I was like, holy crap, like this is definitely a thing. So I think the mindset around resolution, doing it, and that's kind of what we're talking about with manifesting. It's like that stuff matters and it does affect your results. And so I feel like I've been on this, like, want to take better care of myself because I, have hopefully 45 more years. And I don't want to look all dry and like, like I wasn't taking care of my skin. I was just kind of like, I wasn't getting haircuts. Like, I don't know. Like, I was just like, whatever. And, and just a couple months ago, I was just like, actually, like, wait a minute. Why am I not taking care of myself? So, I think carrying that through 2025 more and more, I've been more disciplined about meditating. I got off the meditation wagon for a minute and then got this little gift from a friend of this load of meditations, and it really got me back on board because just at my fingertips, amazing meditations. Um, And that's actually helped. And I think it's also affecting, well, obviously my physical body too, on top of it, right? So I think sticking with taking better care of myself and then creating more space for me to spend time with my horses because I feel like so much of what I learn through and the things that I need to do as far as like a next event or like all these ideas don't come really readily until I'm out with my horses.
Hmm.
So I'm like, well, so those two things, I think, spending more time with my horses and taking better care of myself. Um, so
I love
yeah, I
that.
think, yeah.
I'm trying to do that too. But mine has to like start with my internal state because I'm such a like a driven person when it comes to like if I was like, "Oh, I would be able to take care of the shell of my body, but then I would like maintain a fearful, anxiety riddled inside. So I'm like, I have got to like go the inside route first. But it's interesting because when you're talking about Pilates and being fully invested in your body, that's fascinating to me because what that brought up is how many clients I learned this first through my own horses. And then now I notice my clients doing it really, really often, especially with arena work, where we become so obsessed with our horses' bodies
Mm,
that we are creating such a separation between us and them. And it's hard to get that like coherent frequency. And it's hard for horses when people are like that because especially when people are learning biomechanics or like learning a new skill, horses will sometimes tell me like the person is in such a do it mode, the person is creating such a separation. It's all about like asking it just feels like a um what am I trying to say? Not robotic, but it can become like
mechanical.
yeah, like mechanical. Like what can you ask me to do? Am I saying yes or no? How far can you move this shoulder? It's like all these things where the person is like, do this and then we will be balanced. Do this and then you'll be enough. Do this and then we will be different. And it's like, um, horses really love trail riding and they love like getting out of the norm because it reminds the human how vulnerable they are and how they have to trust the horse. Like when you're in
Mm,
the arena, it's so easy to pilot them around and get stuck into that like obsession over their bodies and create that separation. But a lot of times when you're out on the trail and there's more variables and more unknowns, it causes you to have to like trust your horse and like actually be a partnership and be like, okay, how can I support you up this hill? How can I stay in the saddle when you're spooking? Like, okay, I need you to cross this water. Please, please do it.
yeah.
So it's like more of a partnership sometimes when there's like more variables. So
Mhm.
that's like interesting to me thinking about just staying in your body when you're working with your horse. Cause like, I think that's why horse people tend to go a little bit down the spiritual path too, because unless you expand your capacity to do both, like be connected to your horse and be connected with your own body, you're going to have a pretty like fragmented relationship. And I feel like some horses know that their humans are on that path and they have like a very much like the person comes, get on, leaves, and like the relationship stays very like 3D. But most people, well, maybe it's just the people that we call in, but it's like most
There's
people that
so
I
many of
talk
them.
to, there's so many of them that like are learning to expand their capacity for both because the horses just won't tolerate it. They're like, oh, you have it. As soon as they get like that one little taste of like, oh, you hurt, like, I know that you know that I know that you
Yeah,
know,
you're
then you're
screwed.
screwed. Or we
Then
shouldn't say it
I'll,
like that, but like
I know.
then they hold you accountable because they
Mhm.
should, as they
They
should.
should, as they should. And I think about a lot when I teach, it's really balancing polarity of masculine and feminine when you're working with the horses. And I think women tend to go really into their masculine and they're like, do this, do it here, and you forget like feel is in the feminine. It's in the flow. It's in you're shutting your mind off and you're feeling into what you've learned and then allowing it to happen. So it's like even with just lead changes are something that I feel like people struggle with because they're trying to do lead changes and it's like you let lead changes happen. And you also think about lead changes are like one of the things that horses will do naturally out just, running around. And we get so like life changes are happening, speaking from personal experience, where you get so tight and you're gonna put this here and do this right way and you're pushing into it. And it's like those are always sloppy and horrible. It's like the people that know where they need to be, stay embodied, and then you allow it to happen. You ask and then you allow it. So it's like writing and learning how to connect with yourself and them. It's like it is this balancing act of the masculine and feminine. And it's kind of crazy because there's so many different ways to do that, but riding a horse is really like cools you into that. So that's probably part of it too. Um, it's just interesting because when you're in that flow state and everything is just happening, you're not thinking so much. And it's just then you're with them and you're connected with them and there's no bouncing. And if there is a spook, it's like your body just goes with it, and then
Hmm.
you're all not.
Yeah, you're tapped in, you're in that coherent frequency.
Hmm.
Well, that's actually a great way to end this episode because I literally just talked with a client today about how everything on her horse was on the left side. Like it was like left jaw, left shoulder, it was like left everything.
Hmm.
Um, and I was talking to her about the masculine and the feminine and like, going into the arena and doing versus feeling and how it's easier to go analytical and analyze every little thing and look for the threats instead of opening your heart and stepping into that unknown space. And so, the reason why I said it's such a good way to end is because I literally just had that conversation probably 45 minutes before we got on this podcast. And because Amber is connected to me, we're connected to each other. She decided to use that little analogy because that is not something you say all the time. However, it was floating around in the ether and you just plucked it out, which is so funny because when you do like guided stuff, like when you're guiding meditations, you're guiding things in like the groups that we do, I will always be like off on my own journey. Like I listen to you, but then I'm like engulfed in something else. And then you'll be like, and then you're going to see a little green fish. And I'm like, oh my God, that's over here. That's in mine. And it's
It's my
like
green fish.
we're so connected that you'll be like, and then there's a bench. And afterwards, Amber's always like, I don't know why I said little green fish. Like it just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, that was mine.
Those are my little green fish. But yeah, it does happen. It happens in all those sessions, right? Like
Mhm.
you channel, and if you're doing just one person, it's interesting when you're doing it that way because I'm just saying what I'm seeing, and it's usually because they're seeing it. So when you have a group of people and there's all these things, I'm kind of like, hey, which thing am I going to talk about in our little subliminal subconscious land that we're all in together? Um, but yeah, fun.
Super fun.
All right,
Well,
well, for all of you out there, my website is being updated. But the main things that we want to remind you of is if you like this freaking podcast, you should like it and you should follow us and you should share it. We're going to do better about reminding you all to do that because also I really want to focus on growing this little podcast this year. So if you guys would be so kind to help us with that, that would be amazing. First program that's happening is Manifesting Magic. The link is ready. It will be out into the world. The live call is on the 29th, where the actual workshop is happening on the 29th. So you can get in there. That's $97. But if you would like to have it as a little gifty gift, you can just join the membership. It's $33. And you get a bunch of other stuff too. We do a lot of fun stuff. Also, the Very Intentional Person, it's only 4 people. So if you guys are interested in that, reach out to us. We have, we should talk about our Mustang thing. We'll just tease it. We'll put a link out at some point, but we are doing our the Mustang retreat where we go to Arizona. We stay in the coolest little hotel, all of us together. We rent a giant Bertha van that houses all of us, and we go on Mustang adventures by the rivers, up into the mountains, sunsets, ceremonies, and food and laughter and great fun. So that is coming up in April.
yep, it's
Um,
April 6th through 9th, I believe. We had such a blast last time. We
we
saw
did.
so many Mustangs last
Oh my
time. We
God, you
got like the
guys.
full
Woohoo. We were
experience.
surrounded. Like a lot of people have to search for them. we really had this like vision of meditating next to them, and we were like, how could we ever? We had no idea. We'd never done anything like this before. But we actually ended up finding them, and I should post a video because it's my favorite video. But maybe next episode we'll talk about the Mustang thing more in our little experience. But we did have a little stallion come in, clear out all the people for us and meditate
Clear out
right,
this lady who
right,
was
a
just
loud lady. And he stood with us and meditated like 3 feet away, and it was the most magical freaking thing. So
he
we
was
want to
so
go
cool.
back. We want to do it
Yeah.
again. So I'll put all the information for all of these things in the show notes.
Hmm.
And if
That one's all
anything,
inclusive, by the
yeah,
way. That one's our fun, all inclusive event. Oh, can't wait for it.
I know. I just got excited about it, talking about it. Oh yeah, that's right. All right. I guess that's it. I think
All
that's it.
right. See you guys
Yeah.
later.